Yeah, that's right. You saw the thumbnail and title. Those combat changes that are currently in the beta won't actually fix combat. Not really, at least. There's a bigger issue that needs addressing before people start to use any other style than necromancy, and most of you won't like what I'm about to say. RuneScape needs to bring back style weaknesses at bosses and monsters in general, but not in the way you might be thinking. Let me actually address the beta, by the way, because I'm making it sound like I don't like the changes. In contrary, actually, I think most of them seem to be doing exactly what Jagex intends them to do, simplifying combat for newer players and pissing off the high-end PvM community. Don't worry guys, the world isn't ending. But all joking aside though, I can understand that it kinda does suck a little bit that some of the aspects you like about combat and the game in general at the higher end of the spectrum are being taken away, and that just feels awful to you. But the truth is, most of those niche use cases and complexities that make the game for you break the game for the majority of all the other players. Fingers crossed that with a better fundamental system to combat, Jagex will eventually bring back complexities in some way, shape or form for the real gamers, as long as it doesn't stray away from keeping the majority engaged with the system. Enough about that though, as I simply don't have a deep enough understanding to go into any further detail about the numbers on the combat beta, because I'm simply just not good enough. Leave a like on the video to help me out and subscribe. We're trying to get to 15k subscribers by the end of the year. Enough yapping though, my name's Chevalric, and let's talk about style weaknesses in RuneScape. So, what's the issue and why won't the combat beta solve it, and why do I think style weaknesses is the solution? As it stands right now, necromancy is king for the majority of players. It's super easy to use, and more importantly, it's super easy to obtain. The first argument, the easiness to use, will hopefully be fixed for the other styles with the upcoming beta changes coming to the live game. The easy to obtain part, however, isn't. To get a tier 90 necromancy set from scratch, which you obviously will have to upgrade during your necromancy journey, you will be roughly looking at 45 million GP of an investment at current prices. It's a little harder for Iron Man to obtain, but still, grinding out Krail, Tutrov and some sheep isn't the end of the world either, compared to obtaining tier 90 tectonic armor from Virago for magic, collecting ceramic scales for tier 90 ranged armor, or slaving out full masterwork for melee. And that's not even talking about the weapons. Okay, well, most of you would probably think, okay, well, nerf necromancy then. Done. Simple. End of the video. Yet you're forgetting how RuneScape players work, and I think most RuneScape players in general have a bit of a poor long-term memory. Yes, when necromancy came out, it killed most other styles, because it was by far the most powerful thing that came to RuneScape, and it was better than anything else in the game. And everyone pretty much gravitated to use necro. Yet, a lot of people tend to forget that before necromancy came out, everyone pretty much did the same thing for magic. And when I started playing RuneScape 3 in 2020-ish, after quitting old school RuneScape, that was the case with ranged. As long as I've been around, there has always been one style you obtain, and you've pretty much always ignored the others, besides some niche use cases here and there. So even when you would nerf necromancy, the same problem will switch to whichever style is next easiest to obtain and has the best power level set to it. So how do we solve this predicament that we're in then? If buffing the other styles isn't gonna help and nerfing necromancy isn't either, well, I think we need to return back to the good old trusty system of style weaknesses. Alright, so let's start off with what I mean with style weaknesses so we're all on the same page. As it stands, in the live game right now, you can use pretty much every single style at every single boss, meaning that they have no style weaknesses. The only determining factor on which style is the best at whatever boss is whatever style is currently the meta. For example, the best style to use at Solek and most other high-end bosses for most people used to be magic when the FSOA or Factor Staff Armadale was king, and when necromancy released, that switched to necromancy. And before you Sweatlore starts commenting that actually at the really high end you use hybrid with like 70 OF switches and no showers in between. Yeah, we get it, but I'm talking about the majority player base that would take on a boss. There are obviously also bosses that do have style weaknesses and are pretty much immune to any other style. You can't use anything else besides necromancy at Rashul Hermold. The Danganronpa Kings and Rex Matriarchs require you to use the respective 3 combat styles to defeat them, and the legions can only be killed with range. So, do I think that the above mentioned, the current way style weaknesses function in RuneScape, should be applied at all bosses, so that you can only kill Carapac with melee, Vindicta with magic, or ED2 with ranged? No. Alright, genius. what do you want then? Well, I think we should introduce style affinities at bosses. Affinity being the term I came up with to differentiate between style weaknesses, like at DKs, and this new system. This idea would mean that when you use the style a boss has an affinity to, it would be the best style to use at that particular boss. Take Vindicta for example. Let's say she has an affinity to magic, meaning that magic is the best style to use at Vindicta, giving you an average kill time with tier 80 gear, or let's say 1 minute flat. Yet when you use any of the other styles, you'd be looking at kill times of around 1 minute 30 to 1 minute 40ish, meaning that you can still use the style you prefer, but are actually encouraged to get the affinity style when you want to truly grind out the boss. Obviously, the times I'm giving are hypothetical and Jags would have to balance them out, as I'm no game developer, but the point I'm trying to make here is that it would actually become worth owning different combat styles without pushing people away that want to use their own preferred style. This is something that I feel like would be really healthy for the game and revitalize a lot of content. Sure, some bosses might need their drop rates adjusted or changed if this becomes a serious way to progress through RuneScape, but overall, I think this would be just really healthy for the game moving forward. Because let's be honest here, no matter what changes you will make to combat, a RuneScape player will always find the easiest way to do something. Which, at this current state, it's necromancy due to its OP damage and easy gear progression. Yet, even if you take that away, people will just find the next best thing. Whether that's magic or any of the other two styles, I just feel like the only way to avoid this from happening is to kind of force people to use particular styles at certain bosses if they want to have the best possible experience at said bosses. Just imagine a world where there's a point to getting a Lance at Vindicta, to then take on Chevalric normal mode to get your greater concentrated blast, to take your range gear earned at God Wars Dungeon 1 to Hellwear to get your sidewear so then you can take on one of the elite dungeons to start working towards your tier 92 armor set. Instead of skip the majority of the game, focus on whatever drops upgrades for the best in style slot, and ignore literally anything else. And yes, I know, you can't make everything relevant, but in general, having all styles required in some way, shape or form would actually spice up the game a lot. And to those Iron Men who replied to my tweet, where I suggested style weaknesses or affinities, sorry I'm exposing you, who cried about having to do more than 5 bosses to obtain their PVM gear, brother, come on man. Do you not want to play the video game? One of the reasons I quit my Iron Man in 2023 was the fact my progression path was Croesus, Hellwear with Anime Dead and some basic tank gear to then take on Chevalric to get my FS away, and then I could do literally any boss in the game for collection locks, I suppose. I personally find it so much fun in old school RuneScape that I have to do barrows after obtaining some okayish mage gear to then take on Perilous Moon so I can get range gear to do Tombs of a Mascot, and with that melee weapon I get from it, I can do bandos to get my improved melee gear, which I need at whichever boss is next for my follow-up magic/range upgrade. Instead of skipping most combat and going straight to the end goal, RuneScape became a game about the destination. Let's actually revitalize the journey by allowing all the styles to shine somewhere and giving certain bosses their relevance back, and that you're not just ignoring 75% of gameplay aspects in the other combat styles you're simply not using. And that's all she wrote. Let me know down below how you feel about this topic, leave a like on the video if you did enjoy it, and my name's Chevalric, and I'll see you guys in my next video.